All right. Hey there, everybody. I'm here with my friends Henry and Tyson from Miss Seg Code Club. And we're just going to be talking about a bunch of stuff that has to do with coding, Miss Seg Code Club, and what's going on within the world right now. So since this is the first time we're going at this, I'm just going to introduce myself and then give Henry and Tyson the opportunity to introduce themselves. So my name is Yusuf. I am currently a second year. Oh my God. Am I a third year? Yes, I'm a third-year student at Sheridan doing the InfoSec program, so information system security. So essentially, I am learning how to hack, if you will. I also work at the MCC Code Club as a teacher, and I teach coding and sometimes robotics. Things I like to do, I like to program, I like to play volleyball, and you could say I like swimming, but not really. Henry?
My name is Henry. I don't really know what to say.
I don't know, just like talk about yourself.
Okay.
Who are you?
My name is Henry. Like I said earlier, I've been going to the Mississauga Code Club for code lessons for like quite some time. I also am a teacher's assistant, and sometimes I get to teach classes, which is fun. I'm in grade 12 at Appleby College, which is a school in Oakville, like on Lakeshore, which is pretty cool. I like dogs. I like to play hockey and baseball and like all the sports pretty much, except for golf, because golf is just not that interesting to me. And yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, golf's totally not a sport.
Chess is more of a sport.
I'm also in grade 12. My name's Tyson. I go to John Fraser Secondary School. I'm in the Advanced Placement Program. I also joined Mississauga Code Club a really long time ago, probably, I don't know, what was that, like 2015, maybe 2014, I don't know.
Give or take.
Yeah, give or take. I did quite a few lessons, and in the past year, maybe year and a half, I started teaching and started teaching my own courses as well at Mississauga Code Club. I'm interested in, I like these guys. I like technology. I like coding. I also like sports a bit, play a bit of basketball and hockey. And I did quite a bit of volunteering with Henry, actually. We used to volunteer at this place called Sunrise.
That's cool.
It's basically a retirement home.
Nice.
We would like play piano and just talk to them. Anyways, yeah, that was pretty fun.
That's cool.
I don't know why that came to mind though.
Cool. It's fine. It's fine. Hey, we're just getting to know everything.
We do
it's
stuff.
all good. Exactly. Yeah. We do stuff. Cool. So I think essentially what we're going to be doing is just like talking about a bunch of stuff, trying to give you guys ideas, scoops, hot takes, that kind of stuff. And yeah, I mean, and we see how it goes, right? So I think to start, I think the biggest thing that we kind of want to, one of the missions here at Mississauga Code Club is to try and get students to understand why we think coding is important, right? So coming from Henry and Tyson, they started at a very young age, and it's gotten them, you could say, somewhere right now, because they're both teaching, helping out here at Mississauga Code Club, and making influences on young generations and younger kids. So I think, why do you guys think that's important for you? I guess start off with you, Henry.
I think coding's like very, very important, especially in this day and age, and even more so with like the COVID stuff, because when you're stuck at home, I think coding is just so easy to start, or like it's one of the easiest things to begin to start, since coding is done on computers, right? And you don't really need resources to do coding. You just need a computer and I guess be inspired. So yeah, during this time, coding is very good and big.
I absolutely agree. I think that's very good points. You know,
Kind of nervous.
It's all good. We're just like we're at home doing nothing, right? So it's definitely a good time to start learning a new skill. Tyson, what's your take on coding and why it's important?
I I mean, yeah, I agree with Henry totally, right? During this time, more and more people are spending more and more time at home. And during the time that people are spending at home, they need things to occupy themselves.
Absolutely.
And if you don't have a hobby already, coding is definitely a really good one to get into, especially at a younger age like Henry and I did. I mean, I technically started learning at Mississauga Code Club. I did a little bit by myself before, but not as much as I could have done. And especially now, a few years later, they have all this like online coding, different courses you can get completely for free, right? Just go on YouTube and search up how do I learn Java, and you find like a plethora of videos that you can look at. And that's wonderful, right? Because it's the information age, and yeah, that information's there. You just have to go out and get it, right?
Yeah, I definitely agree with. Go ahead, Henry. No,
okay.
All you, man.
I was just gonna add to what Tyson was saying. I think also now with like younger children being introduced to coding and like similar types of activities, we can see that coding has a lot of impact on like how they learn, specifically like math and like logic. There's a couple like should I cite sources?
Absolutely, go for it, man.
Okay. Wait, I don't even know what this is. Okay, well, I was doing research like with Tyson a couple days ago, and we were looking through some academic sources on the impacts of various like coding toys and just like the impact and effects of introducing kids of younger ages to coding, and especially like in kindergarten and like really young elementary students. There's like a huge improvement in both mathematical skills, logic, and even language skills. So yeah, there's definitely that aspect of the benefits of coding.
Yeah, no doubt. I think that you guys hit on some really, really, really like good ideas, and I think for me, like you kind of said, Henry, coding isn't just coding, right? It doesn't just apply to one thing. It'll teach you things in a variety of different, I guess you could say, areas or domains, right? It'll help you in math. It'll help you think logically. It'll help you solve problems just the way you go about solving programming problems, which is really, really cool to me. And I also think that as we go on in this technology age and everything that's going on, it'd be silly of anyone to think that they can go about a career choice without learning how to use technology, right? I mean, it's going to be a part of our lives whether we like it or not. So you might as well just try and figure out how to use it and how to make the best out of it, right? So I think that's the biggest thing for me. Considering what's happening right now, COVID-19 and everything, and we're all at home, and you guys already got cases in your schools and all that. Yeah. What do you guys think? So say I am a brand new student or whatever, just somebody who wants to learn coding, wants to learn technology. What do you guys think about where I should start, resources, anything like that? What do I do? Tyson?
Yeah, I can go first. So like I said, when you look up stuff on the internet for coding, you find so many different things because there's a million people out there trying to teach you stuff. And I agree, not all of it is perfect, although most of it is like decent enough, I guess. But you want to be able to find something that really suits you and your style of learning, because there's so much stuff out there. There's stuff for every type of learner. Like, let's say you're better at learning when someone goes super deep in depth on something, even stuff you don't really need to know to be able to do it. They cover everything. Even though you don't need to know it, it helps you like remember the stuff in the future. I'm personally like that. But other people might just want to learn just the surface level, whatever they need to know to complete this certain thing. And those are just two examples of some very vastly different ways of learning. And if you go on the internet and you just look for the first thing, it might not suit your way of learning, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. I think you hit a really good point there. People learn differently, right? So you got to make sure you find the right thing at the very beginning, or else your whole journey just deteriorates and becomes absolutely poor, right? So things to think about. Henry, anything to add?
Yeah. So answering the question of like what to start with and like what time to start, I think honestly, coding can be started at any age. Obviously, there's certain areas that are better to start in. My sister, she just started coding. I think her first class was yesterday. She's 14. Yep, she's 14.
What a great brother we got here. Doesn't know his sister's age.
I was just like making sure.
It's all good.
Okay, but she's 14. That's an age you can start at. I'd recommend starting as young as like ages of like even 6 could work. And you'd start off with different stuff. My sister, she's doing an introduction to Python class, which is, it's tough, but it takes you need to have good logical skills, and there's some stuff in Python that's just a little bit harder to understand. Stuff like Circuit Playground, Scratch, those are really easy areas to start off with. Going back to what I said earlier about how kindergarteners have started utilizing these coding resources, they use toys. I might get this wrong, but like it's something called the Codapillar, and other similar types of games, like matching symbols, stuff like that. It already gets their brains to start like looking for patterns, identifying problems, and then matching them to solutions that they've previously learned. That's pretty much what coding's about, right?
Right.
I think you can honestly start at any age, and the earlier you start, the better. Like Tyson said, there's many different ways to learn, like many learning styles. So just find one that suits you. If you're better, like going on your own pace, maybe Khan Academy or like Stack Overflow. And if you like learning in groups and doing group work, doing projects, more hands-on, Mississauga Code Club offers some great courses. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great take. I think both you guys, really good stuff. I think like here at Mississauga Code Club, and you guys know this, we started teaching stuff like way back 4, 5, 6 years ago, right? And to see where schools have come within teaching and stuff like that, teaching coding, teaching robotics, it's really cool. And I think, Henry, you hit it smack dab on the nail. They're starting to teach kids way like super young, and they don't even realize what they're learning, but they're just getting their brain accustomed to those techniques and those things that you need to know when you go about solving coding problems or coding situations. So I think that's really cool to see, and I've been seeing a lot more articles on how schools in Ontario, schools in Canada are implementing coding within their curriculum through math, science, technology, whatever the case may be. So I like that. And I mean, on that note, do you guys know of any special ways schools are going about teaching coding, or is it just kind of whatever happens?
I can start us off on this one. So me going to Appleby College, which is a private school, this might be the reason why, but we have started implementing a lot more technology into our learning. So not only does every student get a laptop, we get styluses, we use, especially with virtual learning now, or like somewhat virtual learning, because right now we still are going to classes like physically.
Right.
We're using a lot of like Teams, Zoom. We have a design tech lab, 3D printers, all kinds of stuff like this that they've recently just been adding. I think this is really, really good because all students are allowed to use it. They offer like Lego robotics. They offer various coding courses. There's like a coding club. All these different things that the school has introduced, I think, to help us start on our coding adventure, if you will, at an earlier age. However, I do notice that the courses, or like the computer science course, isn't offered until grade 10,
Right.
which seems a little late. Tyson, you want to expand on this point?
Yeah, so that's specific to our learning experience. So I think in the past, I don't know, it was like 3 or 5 years, they started adding different things to the curriculum that kind of implement coding into earlier math courses. So that would be like starting in grade 1, they start learning with, it's entirely up to the teacher really, but and I think most of the time they're not completely qualified, but that's my personal opinion.
No, absolutely.
But what they're supposed to be doing is using toys or whatever they come up with to teach kids the very basics of coding, starting in grade 1, which is definitely not happening everywhere, but it's a step in the right direction from the curriculum or whoever's administering that stuff. I honestly don't know. But yeah, I know that should be happening like in our area, Peel area for sure.
Right.
And I'm assuming over the world, they're going to start doing that type of stuff more and more early, because that's what makes sense. Like
Absolutely.
with this new world, you could say, where most jobs are like requiring some technological knowledge. Yeah, kids definitely need to be learning that type of mindset that helps them with technology later on in life.
No doubt, no doubt. I think what's interesting, and you kind of hit on it, is a lot of these teachers aren't as prepared, right? Like you go into some classes and you're kind of like, this teacher, what is he talking about? And you guys knowing how to program, how to code, and a lot of technology, it's kind of sad that they're kind of giving these, I guess, unqualified, unprepared teachers to teach these topics that they're not really equipped to teach. So it's cool when you have a teacher that knows what they're talking about, but at the end of the day, learning the basics is very important, especially in anything for that matter, and especially in coding. And if you don't understand the foundation or the essence of what you're doing, you're kind of your whole journey is like an uphill battle, especially if you don't get those basics down right. So I think that's really cool, and I think that's what's really good about outsourcing that knowledge, right? So you have a bunch of different organizations within the GTA that teach coding outside of school, in terms of like Miss Seg Code Club and other stuff. So I like how there's that possibility, and I'm happy to see that more and more people are realizing the importance of simply not relying on schools to do all their students or all their kids learning, and they're kind of looking elsewhere for that. So I think that's really cool. Cool. I think we're good. We're good on that sense. Let's just talk about self-learning in general, right?
Wait, can I expand on that actually?
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
Okay, so the thing is that the three of us are in three really different like learning environments, you could say.
Absolutely.
So like I'm in the public system, Henry's in like private school, private high school, I'm in public high school, and then you're in college. So that puts us in like three very different spots. But
absolutely,
from my perspective, especially this COVID-19 stuff, most teachers are like not prepared at all to teach the classes. Yeah, and I hope that's different for you, because both of you guys are paying money for your education. But like,
oh, I wish.
Like I have a teacher right now who doesn't know how to use Google Classroom. So on our days where we're supposed to be learning at home, she just does nothing. She doesn't know how to use Google. She doesn't know how to use anything. And believe it or not, that's my tech teacher. She's supposed to understand technology,
right? Like,
but she's on the internet. And then she doesn't understand how anything works. So half the time when we're supposed to be learning, we're not. And I think there's like something about them having to reduce the curriculum, because it's like less days that we're learning, less like. But she's not doing that. She's trying to teach us the whole thing in 2 days a week, and that's 2 days on a proper week, because like it switches around for me. Anyways, yeah, it's kind of it's not nice.
It's definitely sad, because like, I'm already like seeing a bunch of my friends and my colleagues and my peers in school like complaining about how our platform is completely like garbage and it just lags and cuts out, and how it's just sad, you know. It's like schools should be something that you trust in and that you have you can put your kids in and see that they'll come out with the future, they'll come out with something, right? But the world that we're living in today, with all the resources that are available to everybody, that's just not the case, right? You have to be able to look elsewhere and kind of be able to gain knowledge on your own. And leading into that, what are your takes on self-learning? What is it? And how do you start? How does one start self-learning? What is self-learning? Henry?
I'm gonna assume that self-learning in this case refers to like learning something by yourself, but like not just like in the sense that like, oh yeah, everyone learns something by themselves, but like actively going out of your way to like learn something through like a set curriculum, like using resources like Khan Academy and stuff. And I'd have to say that it's both good and bad, and I'll elaborate on this point. So I think the pros of self-learning is that you can learn on your own pace. If you have trouble with something, you can stop, um, focus on that, and then continue. I think the main con I can see is that with self-learning, or like even with a teacher guiding you through self-learning, the pace is not very flexible. If you have questions, it's kind of hard to get answers to those questions. But overall, I think self-learning is a great resource that you can have. You can use it with regular learning, like the traditional format of learning, like in classrooms with a teacher. And then if you have questions, you can go ahead and self-learn. I think you can also use self-learning as a great tool to go above and beyond. So you're really interested in something, learn more about it. Maybe it's your passion. I think self-learning is a great resource, especially in terms of coding, because coding is very self-explanatory. If you have questions, you can easily find answers online. So self-learning is, I think, best suited for stuff like coding.
I like it. Tyson, anything to add on that?
I mean, for me personally, I've just been using self-learning like over summers mainly. So like, let's say I know I'm gonna have trouble with like this was me this summer. I was like, I know calculus is gonna be super stressful for me, so I went on Khan Academy, and I was grinding.
Me and calculus.
Yeah,
I hear the word calculus, and I kind of just my whole body collapses. I'm like, oh god, no.
Anyways, yeah, like I heard stories from friends like kind of the same as what Yusuf's talking about. Like people get really stressed out about it. So I was like, okay, I should probably get a head start on this stuff, so I kind of know what I'm gonna be dealing with. So yeah, I went on Khan Academy and I found a course, and I just did as much of it as I could in my free time. And I mean, I haven't had my actual calculus course yet, but I think it's definitely gonna help me, like doing that in advance. Absolutely. Because like I really want to get good marks this year, right? So I'm like going for university and all that. And yeah, so I think that's something that's going to give me an edge over my classmates 100%. For sure.
I'd like to add onto what Tyson was speaking about. My experience with self-learning is like so-so. When I'm really interested in something and I self-learn it, I'm like, yes, satisfaction, right? I learned something. But when my teachers are like doing online class, that's pretty much self-learning because they don't really teach me anything. We just hop into a Zoom meeting and we're like, everyone did the homework, and we're all like, yep, we did the homework. And she's like, nice, go watch these videos and do these questions. So then I watch the videos, and it's not even the teacher, it's like some random guy. And it's like sometimes the format's different. We have like equations, but the equations look different because it's really like teachers teach differently, and since this is not our teacher's video, it's some other random dude, like I don't really understand it. So then I spend like so much more time trying to learn the exact same thing.
Right.
I feel like self-learning it's good for some people. I prefer like the traditional type of learning. And that's why I don't think that students and like children will be learning very well during this COVID-19 pandemic, because most of the learning we're going to be doing is going to be online, or like some of it at least. And that's going to really, we're going to start to see the impacts of that very soon.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. I'm like so glad that you like brought, because that reminded me. I've been reading and my dad's been talking about it, and it's just the downhill spike that's going to happen within the spend that the young age of like kindergarten to grade 7 or 8. That age group, the learning curve or the learning bell or the learning drop that they're all going to go through within like all what's happening right now is a huge, because something like this has never happened before, right? And kids aren't used to being like Henry said, having to go online and watch videos and answer these questions and look at all different kinds of resources from different people to try and learn things, right? We're used to just sitting in a classroom and learning. And I'm one with Henry, where I'm like, I want to be in a classroom. I want to be surrounded by people. I want to be able to ask my questions and get answers right away, right? But sadly, that's just not the case. And it's never going to be the case in every single environment that you ever go in. And so I think self-learning is definitely a huge skill, and anyone who can master learn something is kind of set for a very successful, I think, future. Just because you're able to learn things on your own, whenever you need to get things done, you can. But I think, like you said, Tyson, you have to be very careful with what you choose and how you go about it, because there's a bunch of different resources out there, some good, some bad, some great, some for your style, some not for your style. And it's very important to make sure and ensure that you find the things that suit your needs, and you learn from those. Because if you don't, you're just going to be setting yourself up for, I'm not going to say a hard or a struggling journey, but a journey that could be a lot more efficient and a lot easier down the line. But with that said, I think we've covered almost everything that we wanted to talk about. One thing I wanted to ask you guys about, since you guys have more experience in this sector, in this field, or in this industry, if you may, are hackathons and competitions. So we've talked about coding, we've talked about how to learn it in different ways using resources like MCC Code Club, Khan Academy, Scratch, whatever the case may be, self-learning. But now what do you use to actually apply those skills, right? As kids, we can't go out into the workforce and really apply our skills. I mean, I could probably, my co-op is next year, but someone like you or someone who's even younger than you, how do they go about applying the skills that they know, the knowledge that they've gained through these courses, through the self-learning environment? Where do they go to apply those? How do they go, and how do they go about signing up for that? One of you take it away.
I'll go. So in my personal experience, like, I've done, I think, one proper hackathon and one that was like kind of like with a school. It was less proper than the other one. But the first hackathon I ever did, my team ended up winning it, right? So I've had a great time with hackathons. I really enjoyed it. I had fun throughout, and I had even more fun when I won. That's not the biggest part of it, okay? The biggest part of it was the whole experience, right?
Absolutely.
So I'm not exactly sure how they're going to be doing hackathons with COVID-19. So I know Hack the North has moved online, and I think a few others might also do that. I don't know how the experience would be in comparison to what I've done before if you were to attend an online hackathon. But assuming that things go back to normal sometime soon, I can speak towards that. So when I did my first hackathon, it was we all went to kind of like a warehouse, and they had it set up where there was like, it was not a very expensive environment, but they had like a whole bunch of tables. No, it was clearly a really cheap location, but they had a whole bunch of tables set up everywhere. They had Wi-Fi, they had Ethernet. And they bought like a whole bunch of different parts, right? So for people that want to do like Arduino projects, they'd have like all these different parts they wouldn't normally have, and they'd be able to get those if they wanted them. You just have to talk to the guys. They also had like a few volunteers walking around everywhere. So if you had a bug with your code or whatever, you could probably ask those guys. They probably know the answer. I mean, we didn't end up using them, but we saw like a lot of people asking them stuff. Which I think is really good. Like, it's good to have someone that you can ask a question to, even in a competitive setting. So basically, the goal of that specific hackathon was to make a project with your group that solves some sort of social injustice or world issue.
Right.
And what my group ended up doing, it was like a pill dispenser for people with Alzheimer's or some sort of like older people that don't remember to take their medication, basically.
Right.
And we made like a whole Arduino setup with like a little dispenser that would dispense it. I made an app using Android Studio, which would connect to the Bluetooth on the Arduino. And basically, once a day or whenever you set it up, it would dispense whatever, right? And we also made a web app for it. It was pretty good. And it took us like a whole 10 hours, or I think it was 12 hours. We got there like 6 a.m. and stayed until 8 p.m. So yeah, that was pretty fun. I really enjoyed it, and I highly recommend it to anyone that's looking into that type of stuff. It was a great experience for me, great experience for my team members, and other people that were there that I knew also had a great time. They even give you free food because they have so many sponsors. So, like, it was
Free
totally
food's
free for
always
me to
good.
go there, right?
Yeah,
It was totally free
absolutely.
for me to go there. No paying. You just have to register in advance. Register your team.
Right.
They give you free food, free lunch, free dinner, and and on top of
Absolutely.
that, you have a chance to win stuff. So why would you not go? Like, that's the way I see it, and I had fun the whole
Absolutely.
time as
I
well.
love the way you put it. I love the way
Yeah.
you put that. Yeah. I definitely agree with everything you said. Henry, do you got anything to add on to that? Any experiences that you've had in the past with warehouses?
Well, with warehouses, sure, but like that's kind of off topic. Adding on to what Tyson was talking about, another thing you get for attending hackathons is the ability to apply what you've learned from coding. I think Tyson explained it pretty well what hackathons are. They're basically competitions where you showcase like what you've learned in coding. You use critical thinking, logic to win. I would like to expand on just like other areas that you can apply what you've learned in coding. So it's not just like you're learning coding and then nice, I've learned coding. Now what do I do?
Right.
You can always do projects. Like you can build robots, you can make games. I know one of my friends, he always makes these programs where it just does math for him. So I mean, like if that's something you want to do, you can do that. There's like lots of areas to go with coding. I think another part of coding or just learning coding that's really useful is it like heightens your logical thinking, your mathematical skills, teamwork if you're doing hackathons. I think it's just like a great asset to have in the future. I think a lot more stuff is going to be technologically based. There's going to be a lot more careers that involve like coding and just knowing how to code, what it is, and having those skills such as like problem solving, critical thinking, stuff like that is really going to be beneficial in the future.
Absolutely. I think you guys I really can't say any more on that because you guys hit it all right on the noggin. I think the biggest thing to get out of what you guys both said is to apply, right? Tyson, you talked about it in the sense of a hackathon. Henry, you kind of talked about it in just the broader overall view. And so being able to apply is something that is very, very important. Yeah, you can learn. Yeah, you have all these skills, but I want proof, right? That's at the end of the day, that's what everyone's going to be asking you. That's what's going when you're going to look for a job, when you're going to apply for scholarships. Everyone wants proof, right? And the way you prove that you have these skills or you have this knowledge is through things like making projects and posting them online for people to see, contributing to GitHub repositories, that kind of stuff. And also, obviously, attending hackathons and competitions like that. And at the end of the day, who knows what you might get out of it? Even if you're a grade 10 student or a grade 9 student or a grade 6 student, and you do something that inspires or really makes someone think differently, you're putting yourself in a good position, in a good environment. And kind of like you said, Tyson, there's no reason for you not to go, right? You're getting free food, you're getting free Wi-Fi, and you're having a good time with your buddies. So there's no reason for you not to go. Henry's brought a special speaker who's going to talk to us about coding as well. But yeah, I think we hit everything. We covered everything. We've taken up around 35 minutes or so. So I think for me, to whoever watches this, take away one thing you enjoyed, one thing you liked, and go do something with what we said. Right? It's good enough to listen. You've listened enough, but try and go out there and implement and do what me and the guys are saying here, because these two are very smart gentlemen, very wise guys, and know what they're talking about. So take their advice, take the dog's advice, and apply something. Do you guys want to add anything or?
Oh yeah, I got my COVID test.
Yes.
If you guys have been in close contact with someone who you suspect of COVID or has a confirmed COVID case, something like that, like if you go to school and there's a confirmed COVID case and you're like, damn, I was kind of close to that guy, or I played basketball with him or something like that, go get tested. It's not that bad.
It's not.
It's not that bad. I'm gonna
It's
give
not they just shove like a rod up your nose.
They just take a Q-tip and put it up your nose.
They just.
It's not fun, but like it's
Right.
it's cool.
You could
to
say you
see
got
how-
tested.
Yeah, it's yeah.
You
I
made
was so
your kids
strong.
one day will ask you what was this COVID thing. You'd be like, I got tested for it.
I got tested. I keep people safe, and we're also doing this stuff virtually to keep people safe or to limit the spread.
Absolutely.
So yeah, end
Absolutely.
COVID.
Absolutely. Yeah, end COVID. Hashtag end COVID. Cool. Tyson, anything you want to throw in? Final words?
I mean, I don't have any COVID tests. Never got tested. But I don't think there's any reason for me to get tested. And
Right on.
so, I mean, I don't have anything else to say.